have it's been amazing when it comes to your career within the last year, #1 on Billboard. When the lights go off and all of a sudden the stage disappears, what is life after that like?
Oh man, I have a family. I have 2 kids, and so when I'm not performing, I'm at home, and my wife says I'm interrupting the whole order of the household because I go off off into the streets and we do our thing on the shows. I come home and I'm with my babies, putting them to bed too late and feeding them food they probably shouldn't be eating. It's all about being a family man at this point, and I love my family, and it's so great when I get to bring my family with me on the road.
And besides the music, you also have an eyewear line.
Yeah.
You have a charity. Tell us about that.
So, one of the cool things is I wore a lot of different pairs of eyewear on the show because, when I was on the show, I was like, how do I stick out? Everyone's cool, I'm not. And I wore glasses, like, let me take nerd to the next level. and I just got a whole bunch of glasses. Well, I ended up getting signed by an eyewear company out of New York called Match Eyewear. We came out with the Danny Gokey eyewear, and then, so that's in, I guess, over 2,000 stores in a few different countries as well. And then I started a nonprofit organization in honor of my first wife. And since I started that organization, we've rescued over 100 homeless families. They live on site. We feed them, we clothe them, we house them. We provide programming to get them restored and back into life.
Can we go a little more, like, how did you get involved? Why did you all of a sudden decide to do something like that?
Oh, man, because my faith is such a big part of what I do. And I remember before American Idol, I was a worship leader. I sang gospel music. And even when I was on the stage, I got a lot of accolades, a lot of pats on the back, but I knew that God's heart was for, like, people who were downcast and who were broken. And I knew it was cool, I can get these accolades here, but, I want to be where God would be. He's out in the streets, his heart's broken for those people, and so I wanted to be with them, and it just turned into a passion. Little did I know, and it turned into a whole organization.
How important is it to be able to be a part of something besides just music?
My wife says it to me all the time. Like I said, we got married about 3 years ago. You saw her in the video, and she's always telling me because in our industry, it's very self-focused. It's very narcissistic. And it's hard because you're always trying to get to this next level of what people say you should be. And she's always saying, you need to go spend time serving other people to get the focus off yourself. It's so super important to get focus off ourselves, and we need to be reminded that it's not about us. There's a bigger picture than us. And so I really appreciate that part.
Joanna from the audience wanted to ask, do you feel a connection to the show or an adrenaline rush when you're watching it because you've been on that show?
That's a good question, man. Tonight, watching the show, I mean, all the memories are brought back.
You were just like transfixed.
Oh, dude, I was in the show because can I tell you this? When I went in the show, I wasn't a performer. I mean, I went up there and I sang. But now I've learned how to be a performer since I came off the show because you get a crash course in the music industry. And I'm always like, man, if I could just go back now. But I think that's what people liked about me. They liked the rawness, and they liked the rawness of the contestants coming from obscurity and not really having a whole lot of experience. And I think, although I say all that, I think that's what got me that far was the innocence and the not knowing what I was doing on stage.
Yeah. So what's next for you, Danny?
Oh, so so Hope in Front of Me did so well that we just recorded the album in Spanish, and we're releasing it in South America and Central America. We're getting ready to do that this summer. A little unknown fact is that I speak Spanish, and so I've just learned along the way. And we're also recording my first Christmas album this month, and so we'll have a Christmas song and album released this Christmas coming up. You
have a great story, which I would love for you to share, of when you left the show.
Yeah.
What was your experience? I think it's a funny
story. All right,
story.
So I'm giving you a little bit behind the scenes.
Yes.
But let's just be honest. When I got voted off top 3, we're always getting carted around in really nice cars, tinted windows.
Everybody's around you.
I mean, yeah, everyone's around you. You got makeup constantly. You're not even on TV, and someone's like dabbing you down. And when I got off the show, they put me down with a psychiatrist first, and everyone got sat down with a psychiatrist, and I'm just like, okay. And he's just waiting for something crazy to happen. I'm like, dude, ain't nothing crazy gonna happen. I just was on a whirlwind. So they take me, they say, you got 15 minutes to get your stuff from the hotel. And it was a nice hotel.
Wow.
And I was like, why? And so I grabbed my stuff, I get downstairs, and they threw me in a 15-passenger van, no security, took me to the other side of town, which was probably the hood, and they put me in some motel. And they just, you had everyone around you. Now I'm over here like, wow, who am I? I feel worthless right about now.
Wow.
It was just kind of funny to see the transitions. Like, you're worth nothing to us anymore. Please move along. And so there I was.
But then how did you get up and become the Danny Gokey that we know and love?
It just, man, can I tell you, it was just, I took all the experience from the show.
Yeah.
You know, I make fun of it because they didn't treat me that bad, although it was kind of confusing. And I took what I had, and I like Clark said, I just trust God. I trust him with my future, and you're the one that started this, you're gonna finish this, and that's what people gotta understand. When they go after a music career, put it in God's hands. He's the best one to open the doors that no one can open. And you got to trust him because we all want the spotlight, but he knows what's best for us. And that's what I've always had to focus on.
Tell us about how important your faith was throughout that journey.
It was absolutely important because it was my foundation. Like I said, what are your core values when you go on? For me, I still, you know, I have one thing I do, I compliment a lot is my wife. She keeps me grounded. And you gotta stay grounded because you will float away on these waves of this fast-paced industry, fast-paced Hollywood, and everyone crashes and burns at one point, so to speak. But if you're firmly planted, you just know that each moment is a new season. When this door opens, another door shuts. And you stay calm, you stay fixed, and you just trust that God has your best interest at mind.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Fast forwarding now to when you were off to where you are, could you ever think that this is what your career was going to be like?
Oh, man, no. And I look back and I pinch myself because I'm so grateful for what God has done. I'm so grateful that, you know, my career really took off at its highest point 5.5 years after the show when I got my first #1. 5.5 years after the show. Not that #1 means a whole lot of stuff, but it does carry a sort of weight in the music industry. But for me, it was a stamp of approval from God himself saying, listen, I started this thing in you, and I got a plan for you, and you take it this way, and I'll just go where I'm opening doors. And I love that because I could be sitting at home doing nothing. I live in Nashville. There's a lot of people wanting to be out on the road.
And I love the fact that you don't hide your faith. You sing about your faith, you are proud about what you believe, and you project it.
Well, for me, it's just like, you know, on the show, they want to kind of ostracize it and they kind of want you to hide it. But
Yeah.
I learned in Hollywood, I learned how to be effective in Hollywood because I grew up in the church. All I knew was church. But I came to the show and I started understanding, hey, people don't understand church if they've never been to church. And so I just came out and really love was a big factor. And bad jokes too. I'm a horrible joke teller. And
You're
so I
bad,
use
it's
horrible
allowed.
jokes. And I think people maybe possibly felt sorry for me and loved me at the same time.
But also to see that Christians can be cool, that
Hey.
Christians can be approachable.
Hey, if God created music,
Yes.
we should be having the best music in the industry because he created it.
Yeah.
All right. So this is, I firmly believe that.
Yeah.